what you're doing when you're in the dating phase of a relationship, you're looking for red flags.
Right.
Okay, in other words, when I'm dating you, I'm looking for reasons not to be with you. Okay, once I'm married, I'm looking for reasons to stay. Sometimes men won't say much, they won't give much leadership. There's other times when men will say things in order to position you to yield your heart to them and then draw back from that, from what they've said. I think they call it love bombing. Well, they would just really pour it on in the beginning to get, because I know a lot of women will spend 2 years trying to recover the feeling they had the first 2 weeks of the relationship,
Right.
even though it's gone south. And so the key is protecting your heart. Okay, how do you protect your heart? You protect your heart in your thought life. Okay, so when a guy starts saying all these wonderful things to you, you don't allow yourself to begin to, in your imagination, go into the future of the relationship. Keep the relationship right where it is. Don't imagine this person in your future. Don't imagine you in their future, because you don't know that. Hello, welcome to In Conversation with Joel Brooks. I am Joel Brooks. It's nice to be with you today. Thanks for tuning in. And we've been talking, my wife and I, Yvonne.
Hey, everybody. How are you?
And I have been talking about relationships, and so we're going to continue in that same vein and talk about relationships. There's a lot of challenges in our society today on relationships, a lot of pressure on relationships and how we relate. And there's a lot of myths going around, a lot of misunderstanding between the genders, how to actually make it in relationships. And so we want to talk and maybe give you some advice on how to communicate, how to keep your relationship strong, maybe how to help choose a mate, some of the things that can go wrong in a relationship, and we want to avoid those things. And so we've been talking about this a few weeks, and so we've gotten some questions in, and we're going to use some of those questions to generate our conversation today. How you doing, Sugar?
Great. It's great to be here again. It's a great topic.
Mm-hmm.
It's a needed topic all over marriages, dating relationships, and so it's really good.
It's just good that we don't have any problems
Right.
that we can
that
really
we
help
have
people
not
out.
overcome, because we've had problems.
Yeah, okay.
Not so many. We didn't have. I don't recall having any problems while we were dating. But we are a blended family, and so all kinds of things come with blended families. So we'll talk about that on another episode.
Yeah, that's another episode.
Yeah, but one of the things you mentioned in your introduction was communication. And you always say communication is the basis of life. And why do you feel like, even when in the dating scene, why do women often struggle with trusting what men say when they first start dating?
Well, one is because men lie. And so we have to be aware that what somebody's saying out of their mouth does not always represent their heart. Okay, and so sometimes men won't say much. They won't give much leadership. There's other times when men will say things in order to position you to yield your heart to them and then draw back from that, from what they've said. I think they call it love bombing. Well, they would just really pour it on in the beginning to get, because I know a lot of women will spend 2 years trying to recover the feeling they had the first 2 weeks of the relationship,
Right.
even though it's gone south. And so the key is protecting your heart. Okay, how do you protect your heart? You protect your heart in your thought life. Okay, so when a guy starts saying all these wonderful things to you, don't allow yourself to begin to, in your imagination, go into the future of the relationship. Keep the relationship right where it is. Don't imagine this person in your future. Don't imagine you in their future, because you don't know that. Okay, the only time you can actually legally do that is when there's a promise been made. And in the first couple of weeks of a relationship, that's probably a little early to have a promise.
Right.
Unless you know that you know that you know. I'm sure there are people that have done that successfully, but typically that's not the pattern. And so the key is to protect your heart, not allow yourself to go there. Okay, don't start shopping for wedding dresses and imagining colors for your wedding and stuff like that. Just keep it right where it is. This is a friendship that has taken a romantic turn, and so I'm going to keep it in the area of friendship. Enjoy the person's presence. Enjoy your time with the person. Watch them. Okay, remember, dating is a long interview. Okay, and so take notes, take good notes, watch for inconsistencies. What you're doing when you're in the dating phase of a relationship, you're looking for red flags.
Right.
Okay, in other words, when I'm dating you, I'm looking for reasons not to be with you. Okay, once I'm married, I'm looking for reasons to stay.
Right.
But your posture, but I'm not trying to save a relationship that's in the dating phase because maybe it's not healthy, maybe it's not something that should be. And who you marry is going to be the most important decision of your life other than becoming a Christian. And so it has an amazing impact on your life and which way things go in your life. And so you want to choose that person with great care. And so remember to protect your heart. Okay, wait for, if you're a woman, wait for the man to lead the relationship and insist on clarity as he leads it. Okay, well, what did you mean by that?
Right.
You know, because men will say a lot of things. Man, you would be a great wife. So, okay, what are you saying with that? That's a strong statement. That's a loaded statement.
For whom?
What would make me a great
Is
wife?
that for you? Right.
For somebody, you know. And so, and then later on in the relationship, when they say that, say, are you talking about you, or are you talking just about you setting me up for a letdown? You know, that kind of thing. So. You don't know anybody's heart, but you want to look for consistencies and inconsistencies. You want to look for reasons why you shouldn't be with this person in the initial phase of communicating.
What do you think is causing the pressure for men and women on the onset of dating? Because, like you said, dating should be a time where you just kind of get to know each other. What's causing the pressure? Because I think sometimes I don't believe that all men lie. You know, I believe that men lie as women lie. You know, but men are more known for lying in their relationship and reference to being sincere or insincere. You know, with someone. But what do you feel is causing the pressure? You know, why can't I just see it as a friendship and we're just going to get to know each other as friends? What's causing the pressure between men and women to start off so tense and to be so unsure of each other? What's causing them not to relax?
Yeah, to me, the only reason for Christian dating is to ultimately end up in marriage. And I think the thought that this person across from me could potentially be my mate brings a lot of tension with it. Okay, and so I think there's pressure just because of the nature. The Bible doesn't talk about dating. There's some people that don't even believe dating is scriptural. When I don't know how else you would get to know a person, how you would get to know what it's like in their presence, get to know their values, how they think. If this is a person that I'm enjoying being around, other than the person being cute, you know, and so because of the serious nature when a Christian dates, I'm looking for a mate. I think that brings a lot of pressure.
Right.
And so, you know, I think you have to learn how to be in the person's presence, have fun, okay, not get ahead of yourself, not get ahead of the other person. If you're a woman, allow him to lead it. If you're a man, lead it with clarity, you know, and tell and be honest with one another. Right. And so I believe there's such a desire to impress somebody you're really attracted to that there's a tendency to hide and maybe project yourself in a way more positive than what you really are.
Right.
And so there can be a pressure on that too. You don't want rejection.
Right.
And so you want to be who you think that person wants you to be at first.
Right.
So there might be a tendency to play some games.
We talked before about a person's past hurts. You know, how does a person's past hurts, how can they affect their current situation? And so you talk about a woman believing that a man's lying. Maybe he's not lying. Maybe she's had a bad history in that area.
Yeah.
And so how do you come to the table with a clean slate so that you actually give somebody a real chance and don't relate to your past in reference to this new person coming along?
Well, I think as much as you can, you want to be whole before you date. I believe wholeness should be a prerequisite for dating. Okay. Now, in some ways, you don't know if you're whole until you get back in that situation, and old thoughts come back. And so I think maybe there's a limit to how healthy you can be before you get into another relationship, and know that until the old signs start showing themselves again. So as much as you can is that you want to get healed. You want to be in the presence of God and let Him heal you. Make sure you're in a state of contentment before you date. Make sure you're already content. Make sure you already have general peace of mind. Okay, because peace is the referee in a Christian's decision-making process. Let the peace of God rule in your heart to which you are called. Okay, so I know that as a Christian I'm supposed to have peace. I don't know if I'm supposed to have this other person or not, but I know I'm supposed to have peace.
Right.
Now, if the other person comes along and peace leaves, then that means they've got to go.
Right, absolutely.
And I call peace back.
Right.
If that makes sense, okay? But if you don't have peace in the first place, then you won't know that you won't have peace with this person because you're not used to peace. You're used to not having peace. And so you can be in an unhealthy relationship and think it's okay because you're used to unhealthy. You've acclimated to unhealthy.
Right.
And so you want to make sure that you have a sense of well-being yourself, that you have peace, and that you are content in life. It doesn't mean you don't want to be married or don't want to be in a relationship. It just means that you have an overall sense of well-being that's healthy.
Now, these questions came from couples who are married and dating. But from the dating perspective, this next question says, how do you know you're making the right choice when it comes to choosing a life partner? I know you talked about peace in the dating sense, but how does that work in actually choosing, your partner?
Well, that's part of knowing that you're in love, is that you're willing to take the risk, because there's no way to know what another person's going to do. There's no way to know the future of another person. People tend to do things in patterns.
Right.
And so what people have done, they tend to do. Okay? And you can't marry somebody. I mean, we all change, but you can't marry somebody on the condition that they become somebody other than who they are right now.
Right.
And so you have to know what I have in front of me is a good chance of what I will always have in front of me.
Right.
Okay? Now, hopefully we'll both grow. Hopefully we're hungry to please God, to become who He wants us to be. But you can't count on that. You can't bank on that. And so part of love is taking the risk of investing without knowing the future.
Right.
So
that's why that pre-dating, the dating season is so important, because it gives you a taste of what's to come.
Right.
Because typically if you're having struggles, with them with any issue, infidelity, lying, it's like we can't fix that.
Right.
We can't fix that. And so what's the role of the Holy Spirit when it comes down to, the dating and choosing the mate?
Right. Well, for the New Testament believer, the Holy Spirit is our shepherd.
Right.
Okay, He says when the Spirit comes, He will guide you in all truth. And so in all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path. And so you want to be transparent with God and say, God, is this something that's healthy for me? If this is not something that's healthy for me, let me know. Give me that lack of peace about it. Okay.
Right.
And another way to know is ask people who already love you, people who want your well-being, want what's best for you. Ask them their opinions. And so at some point, this person will be around the people that you love.
Right.
You'll introduce them if it progresses to that point, and then. And not that you let other people control your decision, but when somebody who really loves you has real concern about somebody, that's something to take to heart.
Right.
And that's something to take back to God.
Right,
Okay?
absolutely.
The person that you marry is a merger between your head and your heart.
Explain that. What do you mean?
Okay, you want to have a desire for the person. You want to be attracted to the person. You want to feel good about what you and the person could have in your heart. So you want your heart drawn, but your heart can blind you to red flags. And so you want to keep your mind engaged.
Right.
Okay, during the dating phase, okay, you want to notice things. You want to notice patterns. If they get really irritated at the waitress, okay, at the restaurant, then that might be you down the road.
Right, absolutely.
Okay, if they show signs of impatience, certain things are lack of character, like lying, inconsistencies. If it's you have a friend that you meet, you introduce to them, and it's too important for them to impress your friend. If it's too important for them to look good in front of people and impress people, sometimes the vanity of that can indicate problems down the road. Okay, if they go, if they bend over backwards to impress people, stuff like that. Okay, so you're looking for red flags. So you want your mind to co-sign what your heart wants to do.
Right.
And if your mind has objections, then that's a reason not necessarily to break it off, but to reconsider.
Right.
Okay, there's a lot of things that may cause you to reconsider what you're thinking, what
Right.
you're doing.
Absolutely. Put things on pause.
Yep.
Which is
Hit
cool.
the pause button. Yep.
Another question we have for one of our listeners is, how can we reconcile feelings of abandonment in our relationship when something has gone wrong? How do we reconcile feelings of abandonment in our relationships when something has gone wrong?
Well, I think the most important thing to do is to not judge a person. Okay, when people disappoint us, it can bring back old feelings and it can bring up future fears. Okay, and so the most important aspect of a relationship is, what do you believe about the person? Okay, what do I believe about you? Because when you make me feel bad, is this something? Was it a state or a trait?
That's good.
Okay, is this a trait of your character? Is this something that I'm going to have to deal with on a repeated basis, or was it situational?
Right.
Was it caused by my present circumstance?
Right. That's a state.
And that's
state
a
that
state.
you're in.
Yeah, if a person gets short with you.
Right.
Well, maybe they had a really bad day. Maybe they lost their job. Maybe they've experienced a loss in their family. And sometimes those things can change the way we come off.
Right.
Okay, as opposed to a trait, which is a consistent part of my character, my personality.
So give me some traits, because I really want the listeners to be clear on what you're saying. So a state has to do with just a place that you happen to be right in that moment.
It's probably temporary.
Right, temporary situation.
Yep.
I had a bad day. Something horrible happened, and I'm kind of down or whatever.
Right.
Or maybe I come across short, and I can say, "Hey, I'm so sorry. I was just kind of in a bad place. Forgive me." But the traits, and you talked about patterns. How do you relate patterns to traits?
Okay. Like, say, for instance, one pattern would be inconsistent mood. Okay, the Bible says to stay away from a woman given to change. Okay, and so one day you're up, the next day you're down, and it's unexplained. Okay, you're down, but you're not telling me you're down. It's obvious that you're down, but I have to go fishing in your head to find out what's going on with you. When you love people, you communicate with them. I'll tell you what's going on with me. Okay, if I'm just in a mood and you have to fish for why the atmosphere has changed, when it's obvious that it's changed, that's a sign of irresponsibility.
Right.
Because I want you to take the responsibility for knowing why I feel the way I feel.
Or how I'm feeling.
And then when I tell you, then you have the responsibility of what to do about it. If that makes sense.
Right.
Okay, to make it different for me. And so being quiet about how I'm feeling when something's obviously going on is a way for me to suck you in and make you responsible for where I am in that moment. Right. It's a childish thing.
So it's like a childish trait.
Yeah, it's a childish trait.
That can show a male or female.
Yeah, irresponsibility.
Right, absolutely.
Is definitely a trait. It's a mindset. It's a way of thinking.
Right.
Okay, so you want to watch for those kinds of things, because that's childish.
Right.
Childishness is also selfishness. And so if a person is selfish, then that's the opposite of love. That's the relational opposite of love. And so they're going to have trouble loving you after the love feeling wears off. So we're all better when we fall in love.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Because we're feeling that buzz,
absolutely.
But once that wears off, you're stuck with who they are character-wise.
Right.
And if they're selfish, they don't have the capacity to love you. You can't give what you don't have.
Right. Can you nurse traits like lying and things like that in a relationship? So
Can you nurse it? What do you mean by nursing?
For example, some people say, "Well, I can fix this." Can you fix traits? as a human, because sometimes we
Yeah.
talk about states.
Right.
You know, we know states are temporary. It's conditioned.
Right.
It depends upon what's happening in that moment with
Mm-hmm.
you. But can you fix? I think people, especially women,
Yeah.
feel like they can fix everything.
Right.
There are some traits. It's like, okay, this is like a deal breaker.
Mm-hmm.
Can you fix a person who has traits
Yes,
that
you
show
can.
that they are?
Mm-hmm.
Which trait do you feel like can be fixed?
You can fix
Well,
it if your name is Holy Spirit.
Right, absolutely.
Okay. That's the only time that you have the right to be in a relationship and try to fix someone.
Right.
Okay. I think it's a bad thing, because how can I say it? When I try to fix you, it's actually camouflage
Control,
rejection.
Right. And
like-
would you see it as control as well?
Yeah, oh, absolutely, it's control. And so I want you, but I don't want you the way you are now. I want you on condition that you change.
Right.
And so I'm not going to leave you alone until you change. I'm going to enter into a relationship and try to fix you. And that's definitely control. Okay. And so that rarely works.
Right.
Yeah, that's a bad thing.
Right. And so, like, I think what I was trying to get at was, you'll find someone and say, well, I know he lies, but I can deal with that, later. And so it's important that you realize that there's some traits that, like you say, you cannot fix, and to move on. But why do you feel like moving on is so rough? Because most people in their dating stage have seen a lot of the issues that they have in their marriage. They've seen them during the dating period. So what is it about us that we feel like we can just override those things, and then we get into a worse situation down the road?
Well, the whole idea of romance is that it is fantasy, that it's not real. Okay, romance, when I fall in love with somebody, is based on what could be.
Right.
Okay, and so I fall in love with what could be and refuse to be honest about what is, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to face what is, because that's going to kill what could be.
Right.
And the loss of a dream is a hard thing to deal with.
Right.
Okay, the death of a dream is really hard. And so we will tend to hold on to what could be, hoping and trying to manipulate it into a change when actually it's not going to happen. And so I think one of the toughest things when you're in the dating phase is to be in reality about what it is you have, who it is you're dealing with. And I mean, if this person has had 9 jobs in the last 2 years, and mad about the one they're on now, complaining about the one they're on now, then know you might be marrying somebody who doesn't like to work.
Absolutely.
Or who doesn't like to submit to authority.
Right.
And so that might be a problem in the future. So people tend to do what people have been doing. And so you want to look for patterns. You want to look for patterns. You want to look for the principles that their life is built on.
Right.
And if they seem to be the kind of person that they always want other people to bend to where they are, if people are constantly disappointing them, it's like your mother used to tell you, everybody's not lying on you.
Right, absolutely.
Everybody has the same story
Everybody's not
about
telling
you,
the same story.
and they didn't talk to each other.
Absolutely.
So they're having the same observation. So what's happening? This is a consistent issue with your character, and so you want to watch things like that. You want to pay attention to the kind of friends that people have. Okay, because that the kind of, how can I say it? It won't say that they're a bad person, but if you're comfortable around bad people, that's an issue.
Right.
Okay, if I'm comfortable in bad settings, okay, I go to church, but I also go to the strip club.
Right.
And it's okay. I'm not doing nothing. I'm not hooking up with anybody. But I'm comfortable in that sinful setting where the whole idea of the reason I'm there is unhealthy.
Right.
See, and so that should be a flag, as opposed to, well, he's a good guy. He just, he just does this every once in a while. I would that would be an issue.
Yeah. So if you're at that stage, how do you cut your own tail off? I know you tell this story sometimes about the monkey. You tell us stories.
Once you face reality, and I'm sorry I interrupted.
That's
you.
okay.
Yeah. Once you face reality and you know that it's not going to work,
right,
it's best to just go cold turkey and just
Yeah.
end it. And so the story goes that this guy had a friend who had a monkey, and the monkey would hang by his tail and tear the house up,
Right.
reach things, get to things, because he would use his tail. And when he was there, he would always say, well, I'm going to cut this monkey's tail off. Stop him from tearing my house up, you know. And so he was approaching the guy's house one day and heard this blood-curdling scream.
Wow.
And I said, man, what's going on in there? And about every 10 seconds, he would hear it again. Every 10, 15 seconds, he'd hear the scream again. I said, what is going on? So he knocked on the door, and his friend came to the door. And he said, man, what's going on in here? He says, well, you remember I kept telling you I was going to cut that monkey's tail off? I said, yeah. He said, well, I'm doing it today. Today's the day. He said, well, why is it repeated screams? Why is it screaming over and over again? He said, well, because I don't want it to hurt the monkey much. I'm only cutting off an inch at a time.
Wow.
And so and that's the way some people get out of bad relationships. And so you just go through this long, painful process rather than just pulling the bandage, you know, and ripping the bandage off and just dealing with the pain and going and get yourself healed. See, we prolong the pain and live it over and over and over again, and that just makes it rough.
Yeah, that's good. A married couple asks this question: as a married couple, do we have to go to the same church to be aligned?
No, I think it's important to have the same values. So you don't have to go to the same church. Eventually, hopefully, you go to church together,
Right.
and one of you likes the other's church. You know, I recommend with women to be willing to go to your husband's church. You know, unless you go there and it's just a deal breaker. Unless you go, you just say, man, I don't think I could live with this.
Right. Or he may go to her church and say, hey, this is more like where we should be.
Yeah. And so you want to come to agreement on which is healthy. You don't want to fight over who gets their way.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to say, okay, which one would be healthiest for our family? If we're going to have kids, you know, do they minister to kids? Do they, you know, what are the values of the place? But I don't think you need to go to the same church at first. No.
Yeah, that would be like heartbreaking for me because I just can't imagine not being together as a family.
Right.
It's something that happens with a family when you go into church together and you worship together. You're hearing the voice of God together. And it's a wonderful experience. So I would find that really hard. I've had people before in my life where maybe one was one religion and one was the other, and that's really hard. And then the kids are divided. But when you believe the same thing, I think it's great to find a church that you both agree on. Hey, let's grow our family up in this environment. You know, which is cool.
I've seen people make it of different religions, but it's because their religious beliefs are not central to their life. Okay, so they can come together on the values for their family, how they're going to raise their kids, how they're going to handle money, how they're going to relate as man and wife. They can come together on that despite the fact that they have different religions. And so I've seen people make it, but I wouldn't advise it.
Yeah. This other question from a married couple saying, what does the silent treatment do to each other when dealing with conflict?
The silent treatment.
Silent treatment.
Yeah.
Not talking to you, ignoring you.
Yeah.
Rolling my eyes when you pass by.
Right. We've never done that. But
no.
I've talked to people who have, and the silent treatment can be really loud.
Yeah.
Okay, the silent treatment is punitive. It's punishment because you did something that, and I'm punishing you by withdrawing communication. It's another childish. You know, it's like the little kids that want to hold my breath.
Right.
You know, and so. Silent treatment is a real sign of childishness. You should communicate. You should want to get the tension in the air behind you as soon as possible. You shouldn't want to maintain it. So some people use being offended as an excuse not to be nice to one another. And so, you know, you've offended me, so because I'm offended, I have no obligation to treat you well. And that's what the silent treatment can be about. And so it's if you go through those as a pattern when you're dating, that might be a sign that's unhealthy.
Absolutely.
That might be something you may have to deal with in a marriage.
Now, is that control? Do you see it as control? I know it's punitive, but do you see it also as being a controlling person?
Absolutely. It's a measure of control because I'm not communicating to you because you're not giving me what I want or you didn't give me what I want. So there's something that I want which is causing me to withdraw my communication. So when I pull my heart in, that's a subtle rejection.
Right. That's
Okay,
good.
that's a subtle rebellion. So maybe we'll pick up here next time.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'd be great.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. God bless you. I hope this was a blessing. Let us know. Subscribe, like, make comments,
Send
ask
questions.
us questions. If anything you want us to touch on, we'll be glad to touch on it. So God bless you. Have a good day.